Alrighty guys, we're back for rotation-proof mono-black skeletons, and this is an Outlaws with Junction standard brew, and I'm Redcat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked. We got the whole Skelly Belly package packed in with 4 Cult Conscripts, 4 Forsaken Miners, as well as all 4 Case of the Stash Skeleton, generating a menacing 2-1. And then also, of course, all 4 Corpse of the Lost too, which is kind of the key piece to Skeletons. So for 3 mana enchantment, Skeletons you control get +1/+0 and have haste. When Corpses of the Lost enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 black skeleton pirate creature token, which of course at that point would be a 3/2 with haste. Then at the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return Corpses of the Lost to its owner's hand, which surprisingly happens more than you would think. We do have another skeleton here on the top end, Roaming Throne, as a 2-of in here, so when it ETBs you choose a creature type. It is the chosen type, and then if a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. So actually just curving out with skeletons could be super duper aggressive. If you have like a turn 1 Forsaken Miner, turn 2 Case of the Stash Skeleton, turn 3 Corpses of the Lost, and then a turn 4 Roaming Throne would be pretty darn disgusting, man. Also with the Roaming Throne, there are other creature types in here you could potentially call on this, like Phyrexian, for example, because we have a couple Sheoldred, as well as a couple Gix too. So squeezed between the lines of all the skeletons, we have just really powerful black creatures and stuff, right? With the Gix, the Sheoldred, but of course we have all 4 Deep-Cavern Bats too, interrupting the opponent's hand, acting as a big tempo piece, as I like to call it. We do have other ways to disrupt the opponent's hand with like Liliana also acting as sacrifice removal, and we have more sacrifice removal with a couple Sheoldred's Edicts. And on the topic of removal, we also have a couple Bitter Triumphs as well as a couple Cut Downs too. Oh, I missed a skeleton here at the front of the build, guys. I also have a couple of Tinybones, the Pickpocket, and that death touch is actually very annoying. On the top end as well, we do have an Aclazotz because just really powerful black creatures packed in, like I said, and then also opting for a Sugar Rush, actually. This card could be whatever card you want it to be, though, honestly. I think Skeletons is actually super duper aggressive. I just wanted a little bit of an extra boost every now and then. So this is a 2-mana instant speed. Target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn, but then also you draw a card so it replaces itself, which I actually think is very important. Now, in this build, we do only have 23 mana, and one of them is a Mishra's Foundry. And then a whole bunch of honorable mentions. Looks like I got to go for the throw over here just to remind me to tell you guys that your choice spot removal can be whatever the heck you want it to be in the deck. Honestly, if you prefer go for the throw over a Bitter Triumph, that's totally fine. However, with Bitter Triumph, remember, you can discard things like Forsaken Miner in the Cult Conscript and potentially bring it back later. So, okay, Malicious Eclipse is a card I thought about because I've been seeing a lot of Boros recently. Beseech the Mirror. Not 100% certain why this is over here because the bargain would be pretty difficult. I'm not sure why I have that over there. Ignore Beseech the Mirror. The End is a card I thought about. Gisa the Hellraiser on the top end. Unfortunately, I think Aclazotz is just the better pick overall. However, the Gisa does fit the whole Skelly Belly theme where skeletons and zombies you control get +1/+1 and have menace as well. And then Cavern of Souls is something I considered for the deck list as well, but just did not make the cut this time. Okay, guys, I do my dandiest to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video, so look forward to that. In the meantime, let's go ahead, take this into some ranked, and see how we do. Okay, we'll see if we can get right into the first game. In the meantime, what am I expecting from the build? Actually expecting a lot here. I think it's going to be pretty good. We've been seeing skeletons floating about. This version of skeletons is just like, it's just like skeletons, but also everything good about mono black as well. So I think it's going to be pretty good. We go first. I'm going to keep this. It's, I guess, potentially a little slow for what skeletons could be doing, but we can't complain about this hand. Double Deep-Cavern Bat is really good. Forsaken Miner. Oh, right up against mono red. Okay, Commando poke in face. 4th mana for the Sheoldred when it comes time. Alright, let's peer into the opponent's hand, see if we can get something good here. So, probably Lightning Strike. That's a tough decision, actually, but yeah, I think it's the Lightning Strike. Feldon's going to come down and start swinging here as a 3-3, which is... But if I would have taken the Feldon... I mean, they could have Lightning Striked the Deep-Cavern Bat, which I guess isn't that bad. And if they didn't want to do that, they could have played Swift Spear, which also would have gotten the counter from the Commando, so that's pretty tough, actually. Tinybones. Alright, start with the swing. Back up to 17. Deep-Cavern Bat. Number 2. Wow. Lightning Strike. I'll take it. That's funny. And we'll get the Tinybones down too. Tinybones is great to deal with Feldon since it only has to do that 1 damage. They'll only see 1 off the top. But we might let the Feldon go through and block something else though. Chandra comes down. All right.
Listen, pal,
I love seeing Chandra.
so you might as well give up on
Oh, and the festivities from the opponent. Oh, dude. Holy cow. Holy cow. What a top deck from the opponent. They just 3-for-1'd, bro. Okay, now our only hope is going to be Sheoldred, but if they see mana off the top, they can double down on Lightning Strike. Forsaken Miner can't block. I mean, it's got to be the Sheoldred, right? So I'm going to start poking the Chandra, I guess. And we'll get the Sheoldred down. Dude, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble, dude. What a top deck. We don't always see End the Festivities packed into mono red, but you got to appreciate when they do have it. Because that was something else, man. It's also, I mean, if they've been seeing a lot of decks, like we've been seeing a lot of Deep-Cavern Bat. So, I mean, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. So it looks like I'm not entirely sure what the opponent's holding up here. I guess the draw before the Sheoldred pings, right? Yeah. So if they see a mountain, they could double down on the Sheoldred, which would totally be worth it. Oh, they don't need a mountain. Chandra ramps them anyways. Well, was Sheoldred still the play? Because if we played Bat and grabbed a Lightning Strike, I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure there because that's 2 Lightning Strikes that did not hit our face. Another End the Festivities for the opponent. So that was not a one of in the opponent's build. Again, the Forsaken Miner can't block. Dude, I was feeling pretty good there once the second Bat came down earlier and everything. That was brutal, brutal stuff. Down to 3 and the spear comes down. We are forced to chump the Feldon. We go back up to 4, and then we take 3 here, going down to 1, means pretty much whatever's left in the opponent's hand could probably wrap up this game, right? Or at the very least buff the Swift Spear for the prowess. It's going to be a Lightning Strike. I guess they might have the quest for attacking with creatures, right? Good game, opponent. Or playing red cards too, because that gave them the End the Festivities back, so they could also play that as well. Brutal, brutal stuff. What's this, guys? What's that? An accidental test game that I kept in? The deck win rate? Okay, well, ignore that first victory there. That's nothing. Every now and then, I take the decks into some test games, and I try to turn off the deck tracker, because after the test games, I usually always change up the deck list, and sometimes it's significant changes, and so that means I want like a fresh deck tracker for when we play it for the video. Because usually they're different versions of the deck list. I have no clue what that victory was or if I changed up the deck. So, because I've been sitting on this one for a while. So yeah, we'll just ignore that first victory for now. Opponent goes first this time. It's a good hand, though. I'm going to just opt for more damage. So we're going to get the Cult Conscript down over the Tinybones. Let's see what happens here. It's funny squeezing the Deep-Cavern Bat into pretty much anything. And it works pretty well. It's just great to disrupt the opponent's plays. Guardian, dude, nice. I love that card. We don't get to see it enough, honestly. All right. Yeah, disrupting their turn 3 is probably more important than a couple skeletons. Unless, yeah, no. We'll start with the swing, first of all. Because I don't think they trade here. And if they discard a card, indestructible, is that worth it? Cult Conscript goes to the grave. Wonder what they end up discarding. Yeah, since we're about to disrupt their hand anyways, I think that the extra discard, Cult Conscript, could eventually come back if a bat dies too. So they decide to actually just take the 2. I was overthinking it there big time. Deep-Cavern Bat, what do you got, opponent? What do you got here? Whoo! Oh, I do not like this Phyrexian Vindicator one bit, but we do have removal in here that can deal with it, luckily. Coppercoat Vanguard, the seat is their 3rd, so we should disrupt their turn 3. And Vanguard will come down, though, but... 2nd, Deep-Cavern Bat. I mean, March pops the first bat, but they're wasting removal on a bat. So we could have taken March. But I think disrupting their Adeline for the turn is more important. Because now, if they use removal, they still have to wait till next turn to play the Adeline. That makes sense to me. Hopefully it works out. Mana off the top would be pretty good, especially if we can start seeing even more skeletons. Giving haste to the Cult Conscript don't matter because it enters tapped. Yeah, so they do take the turn, guys, to play the March. And now we can do the exact same thing this turn if we want, which I think we will. Swamp off the top. It could be Corpses of the Lost, but I think we take the turn to disrupt them again. See if they drew a land. Because if they did, maybe it'll be the Vindicator because we don't have removal for that right now. Tinybones' Death Touch does get around the Adeline's toughness as well. It is sticking on the Guardian's ability. Then we're going to take the turn to get the Cult Conscript down tapped as well. And also attack with the first Cult Conscript. Kind of getting ahead of myself here. Opponent, are you there, buddy? It's just a little bat. Nothing to be concerned about. Oh, double Vindicators, guys. Yeah, so we're going to disrupt the Adeline and hope that they do not see a land off the top. All right, 2 combat. Swing with Conscript. Maybe. Swing with Conscript. Down to 16. Conscript comes out tapped. And now next turn, more mana off the top would be sick for us, actually. But even if we don't see mana, getting the corpses down... well, they saw their mana. Vindicator coming down. All right. So if it wasn't a second Vindicator, there was a possibility where we actually... oh, mana. There we go. Wow. Yeah, if it wasn't a second Vindicator, there's a possibility where the Deep-Cavern Bat grabbed the Vindicator and let them play the Adeline. So luckily we saw our mana too, so corpses can come down. But we have a big problem here, man. So if damage would be dealt, 2 Phyrexian Vindicator prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, Vindicator deals that much damage to any other target. So if we look at Death Touch, any amount of damage a source with Death Touch deals to a creature is enough to destroy it. If the damage is prevented, that's not enough to destroy it, right? Right? Probably? Should we test it? Because it's dealing damage. See, the problem is if we test it, they can pop the bat, then get the Adeline back anyways. So we're kind of in trouble because Vindicator number 2 is going to come down. If we're in that much trouble, do we just like go for the swing? They'll do 3 to the bat. Oh, 2. They get 2 to anything if they want. If we're in that much trouble, I say who cares? Let's test the Tinybones attack. Opponent, don't make fun of me. I want to see what happens. Okay, so death touch damage gets prevented. They do 2 to the bat, of course, right? And the Vindicator survives. Okay, now we know. Okay, yeah, I'll take this action. Dude, we're in so much trouble. Because, yeah, Vindicator number 2 is going to come down, which means if we top deck removal next turn, we still had another Vindicator to deal with. Oh, okay. They saw another mana, so they doubled down on the Adeline and the Vanguard. So anyways, yeah, once the Vindicator started floating about there, brutal stuff. I'm always shocked when we don't see more of these guys. Okay, let's see. Maybe we can get them to discard their last Vindicator. Oh, I'll do that with the Cult Conscript, of course, and let the 2 go through. And they kept the Vindicator back as a blocker. They decide to let the Guardian actually die there. All right. Well, swamp. Corpses. Tinybones. Poor little Tinybones. I guess we'll keep blockers on the ground. The Vindicator can start swinging in the air quite successfully here. Yeah, so now we know too. It's good to test things sometimes, right? Yeah, that the death touch, when it's prevented damage, it doesn't actually count towards anything. Like the death touch doesn't actually go through. Vindicator and a hopeful initiate off the top too. Wow. A beautiful curve from the opponent. I'm probably just going to take the 7 here. I guess removal off the top, pop the Vindicator, but they still have so much on the ground too. It's just going to be a Cult Conscript actually. Well, we'll have a full swing, see what the opponent does, and then let them full swing in return too, especially if they have the quest where they got to attack in with things. They still got great blocks here. Yeah, seeing those Vindicators in hand, I'll tell you what. That would have been a much better grab than the Adeline, but Vindicator number 2, maybe it still was a better grab than Adeline, because then they would have only had 1 for the time being. That's tough to say, honestly. Good game, opponent. All right, guys, so far for the video, 100% loss rate. Ignore that first victory. That was a test game. Oh, I totally believe in the deck list, though. Oh, we'll definitely get there today. Although my rotation-proof deck lists have been struggling, man. Not all of them. Some of them have been performing much better than I anticipated, but then some of the ones where I thought they were going to perform well haven't been, and been an interesting time with these rotation-proof deck lists, let me tell you. Let me tell you what. All right, opponent, what you bringing to the table, buddy? Less Vindicators would be nice. Ooh, a Sugar Rush. I like it. But the double Tinybones is pretty slow, and the opponent goes first. Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot, though. I think Tinybones has a really great chance of getting by the opponent's creatures. Well, not if they're 1/1s, but... Ooh, Roaming Throne. That looks like fun. Yeah, hopefully the opponent ends up swinging in here, so that way we can swing with the Tinybones, get a Sugar Rush off, and trade this out. Ooh, more 1/1s. Okay. Okay. Warden, they might tap down. They can't tap everything down though. They're still gonna have blockers up. So unfortunately, the best thing for us there would have been them tapping the goblins and swinging with the Epicure to do 1 to our face. Okay, cut down was a really good draw. Cut down was a really good draw, but we should just hit the Warden. And yeah, the swing here, obviously, that's just still a trade. And we should probably just do this on our turn too, because you never know when the opponents are going to have surprise protection sometimes, right? A random Lauren's Escape pops up or something in a Boros build. You never know, dude, honestly. All right. Liliana's sacrifice ability doesn't do too much against Boros. Case takes out the Tinybones, easy peasy. We take out anything in our hand, even the throne. Except the ward 2 on the throne, of course. Alright, guys, let's see. Sheoldred's Edict. Okay. More removal isn't terrible, and that's removal that we can keep open while getting the Tinybones down. Unfortunately, Tinybones not great right now. This is a particularly bad hand against Boros. Probably warranted a mulligan. We'll get Tinybones down and keep Sheoldred's Edict open. And it's too bad we're not on the attack right now. In other words, that Sugar Rush already would have been traded out. Okay, another case, and they're going to also solve this one too. We're probably going to take care of the Epicure, I suppose, right? So, sacrifices a non-token creature. Yeah, we'll let them keep the goblins around. We're in danger, dude. We're in big danger. We needed to see many more blockers. So, other cases solved. They have 3 3/1s. We're at 9. So, Bat was a good draw, actually. It blocks well and maybe disrupts the opponent's next turn for a second. Lethal. Another case of the Gateway Express. Yeah, I think we'll take that one, actually. And we are going to be forced to block one of the goblins here, unfortunately. Back up to 4, though. Hanging on for dear life. Oh, case still gets solved anyways. There's a 4th mana for a roaming throne. But that's a GG. We're still gonna call Skellybelly. Drop him the GGs. Man, hard time, huh? I believe in the deck list. We can get there, guys. Opponents are bringing it. 3 losses in a row. Our deck list can totally get there. Oh no, climbing backwards. Oh no. How could we let it come this far? We're just balancing out the Dino deck list win rate from yesterday, right? The Dinos outperformed expectations, and I thought it was going to be pretty good, but it did really, really good. Come on, Skelly Bellies. Come on now. I believe in ya. I could have mulliganed that last one too, right? We probably could have found a much better hand. Opponent goes first, unfortunately, but this has got to be a keepable hand, right? Mana off the top. Is it too slow? I like seeing the removal, though. Okay, I'm going to keep this. Okay, good. Okay, it's a shadowy backstreet. We might actually have a chance of setting something up before getting run down on our turn 3. We'll see what kind of Orzhov they're playing. Okay, Regal Bunnycorn. Okay, nice. All right. I like our draws so far. And seeing that 3rd mana already is huge for us, so. It's going to be Tithing Blade. Okay, so there goes our Skelly Belly for the turn. So with Bunnycorn, Tithing Blade, this is Orzhov, Blink, I'm assuming. We will definitely take the turn to establish the Corpses of the Lost, because that means Roaming Throne comes down. We're drawing really well right now, guys. We solve our case. Oh, that's fun. That's fun, dude. All right, the Princess Takes Flight is one we never get to see. But you get to start by exiling up to one target creature, and then only on Chapter 3 is that creature returned. In the meantime, they have this second ability too, where they put a +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. They're going to do that on the Bunnycorn for sure. That happens to work out beautifully against our token, just completely taking it out of the equation. All right, so we might want to take the turn to take care of the Bunnycorn before... Well, we could keep the Bitter Triumph open, but they might have protection for it. Oh, 1 second, opponent. I'm thinking, buddy, we have a lot of options here. So, like, one of the things we could do, right? Like, we do have a good swing on the Roaming Throne as well. And the Ward 2 probably won't help it out in this type of deck. But you never know. I might just play the second case here and keep the Bitter Triumph open. No. We should do the Bitter Triumph this turn as well. Honestly. We should. Swing for 3. Yeah, just in case they have something that blinks their Bunnycorn and brings it back, that acts as protection, and we definitely just want to take care of this. I am going to actually discard the Cult Conscript. There's another skeleton, but I don't want to take 3 here. Yeah, we're going to do this right now before they find some kind of crazy protection for the Bunnycorn. Do I want to take this action? We're going to decline. Because we still have that Roaming Throne set up for next turn. Hopeless Nightmare. Crap. Alright, Aclazotz is a really bad discard, but there's no guarantee that we actually see. Oh, crap. Pixie comes down. Hopeless Nightmare wipes our hand. Oh, we're in so much trouble. Hey, Corpses of the Lost off the top is really good, though. This is a really, really good draw. All right. They'll probably trade, but we accept that trade. Accept it all day before they, like, do something crazy to blink the Pixie and stuff. Dude, come on. This is the game where we can get there for sure. Mischievous Pup. Tithing Blade. Holy cow, dude. Holy cow. We're in so much trouble, man. There's our 5th. What do we grab out of the build? What is the best thing to grab here? Another Corpses, right? They trade into Pup. We bounce at least like 1 corpse back to hand though. We have 3 mana right now is the thing. Like Cut Down can take care of the Pup obviously, but then we don't have anything else on the board. Any skeletons would be fine too. But I honestly, like, well, Sheoldred would be great too, obviously, but I think it's just another Corpse of the Lost. And we just go for it, man. It's a 5-2. They accept this trade for sure, and we accept this trade. It's a top deck war, but it's a war that we're going to be able to win, hopefully, as we're going to bounce the Corpse of the Lost back to our hand and solve this last case. So we're only going to bounce 1 of these, and that's it. Decline. And hopefully they don't top deck something that has us discard. Yeah, the goal here, of course, is getting another skeleton from the corpse if we miss on the draw. Rite of Oblivion takes out 1 of the Corpses of the Lost. That's pretty good for the opponent. They can do it again. They could do it again. Flashback. Dude, the opponents have really been bringing it, man. Hey, GG. We still had that corpse in hand, luckily. They decided that it was ours. Finally, guys, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, where could I have played that out a little better? That, like, all of a sudden, like, our, like, keeping these things around and stuff and the discard on the Bitter Triumph, like, all of a sudden got incredibly risky as they blinked the Hopeless Nightmare and just completely destroyed our hand. So taking the 3 damage on the Bitter Triumph was something to consider, actually. There were also some potentially risky trades when we were swinging as well. But actually, I liked all those trades, and I think I'm going to stick by them. But they were potentially risky as well, so... Oh, buddy. It's all been tough uphill battles. It feels great to get that victory. Let's go one more, because I truly believe that we can end on a high note. And I also think the deck is much more powerful than what we're showcasing as well. So, yeah, I think we can get there. We have a lot of 1-drops, guys, and the opponent goes first, unfortunately. If we don't see mana, this could be really bad. Tricky starting hands for sure. I'm going to keep this. I don't think it's too bad. Yeah, starting with the Case of the Snatched Skeleton, like, we have so many 1-drops too that we could have seen, but mana's completely fine, man. Yep, mana for the next turn, also completely fine. If that's what the game wants to give us, that is totally fine. Mosswood Dread Knight, they go for the draw. Sheoldred's Edict, not bad. Get the case down. I'd love to see this Sugar Rush do a thing today too, so maybe we can actually get the swing in with this Skelly Belly. Alright, we do get a swing if we want, but Gix is probably much better. Unfortunately, right? Sheoldred's Edict also takes care of the Lord Skitter. So that is something to consider as well. Drawing off the Gix or taking care of Lord Skitter before they have a better sacrifice. I think the draw is a little bit better. Because we're up against Golgari mid-range, and like keeping our hand stocked is going to be so essential. Seeing the 4th on time is going to be excellent here. So now they have a better sacrifice, but like, isn't that bad? Gix gets taken out, and they do have a swing here. Yeah, at least we'll have Sheoldred on turn 4. Okay. Down to 15. We have Aclazotz on time as well. I think we just have to... We stick to it. First of all, this creature can't block, so we're going to start with the swing. And their rats can't block too, so the menace gets through. Sheoldred's probably going to die to instant speed spot removal, but there's no way that we don't just play this, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we land Sheoldred on 4 whenever we can. Against Golgari, though, we have to expect just more removal when they've only played 1 Go for the Throat so far. Sheoldred might be sticking around. Then we try the Aclazotz next turn for sure. Liliana, luckily we get to sacrifice the skeleton here. They're going to go for the discard. Oh, my poor Sugar Rush, man. We just haven't been in a great position where we're like actually pushing the aggro side. It's kind of like we're on the run in every game. So it's probably Sugar Rush. But I think we need to keep all of our big creatures around. And I don't want to ditch the 5th mana because we only have 23 mana in here. So we don't have a great chance of seeing the 5th for the Aclazotz then. Okay, they don't swing. And case off the top. All right. That Liliana might put in a lot of work if we can't deal with it here. Sheoldred's Edict can just straight up deal with it right now, but like we probably have to get the Aclazotz down. They do have a double block into the skeleton. The Mosswood Dread Knight sorcery side. Actually, that double block into the skeleton could have been a really good reason to keep the Sugar Rush in hand if that's what we were deciding, but I'm pretty sure it's just Aclazotz for the turn anyways. Okay. It's just Aclazotz, and we don't risk any swings, I guess. Because I don't want them to draw off the Dread Knight. And I'd rather hold the skeleton for when we have a better swing somewhere. It can't block, though. I'm not entirely certain if that's the correct thing, but I am going to practice a little bit of patience with this skeleton. Because also, if it dies, of course, we do solve the case. Which could be really good in this matchup, actually. Okay, I talked myself into it, but they will get a draw on the Dread Knight, which is pretty scary. Letting Golgari see more off the top could be devastating. But what this lets us do, number one, they don't have to block, right? They could have let the Liliana take the 2. Also, we don't have to kill the Dread Knight, but we probably should, because they're going to be spending mana to draw the 1 and losing 1. So yeah, I guess that's okay. Yeah, so a few things. I wasn't going to swing, but what we should have done was swung before we spent the mana, just in case. Because at this point, the opponent knew we had Sugar Rush, so they could have actually feared some kind of potential combat trick. No instant speed spot removal for Sheoldred means we might be getting a little lucky here, guys. They go for the sacrifice, which of course will be the Aclazotz. So Liliana is a problem, so we do have to take care of that immediately. I guess we could have kept the skeleton to sacrifice to the Liliana. Not 100% certain my thought process there, other than the fact that the bat keeps coming back. I'm not sure. Not really sure. Roaming Throne is something to consider. Who endures from the opponent? Oh no, we will take that action for sure. All right, the bat is way out of here now. But Sheoldred really putting in some extra work right now too. Graveyard Trespasser. Nice. So Dread Knight is not the play for the turn. So we did actually end up trading quite well there. Sheoldred completely holding up this game quite beautifully, honestly. But we could call Bat on the throne, play Bat. Wait, they only have 1 card in hand. Oh. Oh, okay. Till the end of your next turn. Oh, they did play the Dread Knight. I see. Now it's on the creature side of things. So we can also go Case to grab whatever the heck we want out of the build. This Liliana is a problem. So I think it's Roaming Throne, call Phyrexian, which is really good. If we play Case, we'll have that to sacrifice. Or we could play Bat to get that last card out of their hand. Sacrifice the Bat. We don't mind that too much, potentially. Or we just keep Sheoldred's Edict. We just do Sheoldred's Edict, potentially, too. There are so many options, guys, and I'm actually going to opt for Case of the Stashed Skeleton. That'll be our sacrifice. We'll see what ends up happening here, because now Sheoldred's ability is doubling down, thanks to the throne. And if they find removal for Sheoldred, we'll have the Case of the Stashed Skeleton to find another Sheoldred, which is brutal business. So right here in this game, we're just seeing how powerful mono black cards can carry us, hopefully carry us all the way to victory. Okay, spot removal for the 2/1, -2 on the Liliana, and it's probably
One of your friends has to leave.
Roaming Throne. We could always grab another roaming throne too. The problem here is the ward 2 on throne might have been protecting it. Alright, Mosswood Dread Knight comes down. Sheoldred is an absolute menace to the opponent. We're set up pretty well here, guys. They go for the swing. I'm risking that block, dude. I'm risking that block for sure. 4-2. Anything in the opponent's hand that could take care of the Sheoldred now? Since it's Golgari, they could have fight spells, right? Like fight Dread Knight into Sheoldred, then activate Dread Knight's ability. That'd actually be pretty good. They took that swing for the life gain, potentially? Or maybe they thought we weren't going to risk the Sheoldred. One of the main reasons to risk the Sheoldred, of course, is the case of the Stash Skeleton over here. Which we are probably going to do. Because the other case is going to solve here soon. The Liliana, another bat wouldn't be bad. Spot removal. Another case wouldn't be terrible. What am I grabbing? Let's just grab the throne. Let's stick to this concept of having like this whole throne be devastating with the Sheoldred. Phyrexian. No attacks. And this makes any amount of extra card draw incredibly deadly for the opponent. And now that the other case is solved, if they find removal for either of these, we can always just grab their best friend with the case. I'm feeling pretty good, but I think that there's ways for Golgari to get out of this, right? Number 1, spot remove Sheoldred, and then find life gain. They find life gain before we can establish like the other Sheoldred. It needs to be more, they need to get themselves above 4. The problem is, we're at 19 right now too. So, GG opponent. All right, let's go, guys. Ending on a high note. That's what I'm talking about. We barely got to see the skeletons do like anything. That whole game there was just like mono black being mono black, but then also we got to see the roaming throne do something really cool. It didn't do something cool with the skeletons, but like that was nice. I like that. That's a lot of extra damage when you're doubling Sheoldred's ability. So guys, up here it says 50%. That first victory was not on the video though, so that was just a test game. So the deck win rate today was 3 losses and 2 victories, but I don't remember that test game. I don't remember if I ended up changing up the deck list a lot, but we'll just still ignore it for now, right? Yeah, pretty cool last game. I would have loved to see just more skeletons slamming through, but we kind of like, I don't know, it was drawing a little bit funny. Is that how I put the deck list together? I'm not so sure because I'm pretty sure it has a beautiful curve. So take a look at the deck list here again. Guys, while I have you here at the end of the video as well, make sure you check out that description where we got that Discord link, as well as that Patreon link too, if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. That Patreon really does go the extra mile, so thank you to all my beautiful patrons. All right, guys, here's the deck list again. There's a beautiful curve that I was talking about, very much like an aggro curve, focusing a lot on 1s and 2s, where on turn 3, you're not always dropping a 3-drop. You're actually just maybe dropping 2-drop and a 1-drop as well. That's how this curve is actually curved out. Deep-Cavern Bat is going to be excellent in here. Regardless of whether or not you have more ways of having your opponent's hand being drained, it's just a great tempo play and a very powerful creature overall. But we do have other ways in here to drain the opponent's hand, potentially with like Liliana, for example, and Aclazotz on the top end. Another thing too is the Gix being a Phyrexian pairing with the Phyrexian Sheoldred pairs nicely with the roaming throne as well. So all that is something to consider where you call Phyrexian sometimes on the roaming throne. And then Gix is a great curve after Bat as well because Bat flies into the air, gains you 1 life, you lose that 1 life, you restock your hand immediately. We see the opponents do this all the time. It is a very powerful line of play. But outside of that, then the Skelly Bellies offer us a very powerful line of plays as well. If we take a look at the removal, I probably did not play with enough removal today. At pretty much every game, we were kind of like, well, removal would be pretty good here. And, you know, we usually didn't have it in hand. Sheoldred's Edict, I probably could have played a little sooner on that Liliana instead of letting them take the Aclazotz, but it all ended up working out in our favor, luckily, so I didn't get too punished there for any of that. 23 mana felt perfect for this list. We do have a lot of top end, but not, I mean, like I showed you guys the curve for a reason, right? A lot of ones and twos. 23 makes a lot of sense for this particular build, as we're technically not mono black mid-range, we are mono black aggro that happens to have a very powerful top end that knows how to go into that mid game nicely. Sugar Rush, I'm keeping it, bro, but like I said, you guys can trade it out. Luckily, it's only a common too, so it's something to consider. I think if we were actually in more, I think if we went first more today, I think we would have been the aggressors more often, and that's where Sugar Rush really comes in. 2 mana, 3 extra damage, hopefully, to the opponent's face, and then it replaces itself, and I really like that concept, so I'm going to be keeping it in here, but you guys don't have to, because more removal also works, and you're not going to be mad to see another cut down or something. Or more variety removal could be good too. Over in the honorable mentions, I had the Malicious Eclipse, which does -2/-2 to all creatures. If a creature an opponent controls would die this turn, exile it instead. So it doesn't exile your creature. So if you end up having to emergency board wipe, -2/-2 to everything, clearing like Boros's board, and you accidentally pick up some of your Forsaken Miners or your Cult Conscript or something, your cards aren't going to the grave. So you have, or your cards are going to the grave, so you have a chance to bring them back, and the opponent's cards are exiled. So it's pretty cool, man. This is a potential one of where you could trade that one in for the Sugar Rush, and what ends up happening then, number one, you can always end up like discarding it to the Liliana if you're not using it or something like that, right? Like it could be like that spare. Also, the opponents have been playing a lot of cards that have us discard too, so that's a thing. Like if you're not using it, it's fine. It can just be that extra card that you toss. But outside of that, being a one of with Case of the Stash Skeleton, when this is solved, and it's pretty easy to solve because the opponents are removing everything all the time anyways, then you can search your library, and having a bunch of one-ofs in a build where you're searching your library for specific cards actually ends up being like huge utility overall, where you could potentially like search for the Malicious Eclipse and actually wipe the board that way too then if you're not seeing it, right? Like that's kind of the concept of having some one-ofs in here. We actually don't have too many one-ofs packed in. But yeah, hopefully I explained that well enough. I think so. Like right now, we only have the one of Liliana and the one of Sugar Rush, so maybe we should consider just having even more of a variety in here, like drop a Sheoldred's Edict down to 1, go up another variety piece of removal, which actually is starting to make sense as to why I had more variety removal over here in the sideboard too, where originally I said, oh, I must have had this to remind me to tell you guys that your choice spot removal, it's totally up to you, whatever spot removal you like. But also we had, what was it? It was, Bring to an End. Is that what I want? What's the card? What is that card? Oh no. You can't search for anything if it says end. I don't even know what the card does, so I don't know how to search for it. Oh, there it is. The End. Yeah, no, this exiles. And this is another one that I could potentially see as a one of in here as well. There could be moments where you have 5 or less. You could search for this out of your deck. Now it only costs 2 mana to exile something. Then more importantly too, as utility removal, you get to search its controller's graveyard hand library for those cards. It just completely gets them out of there. Like get the Imodane's Recruiter out of the opponent's deck type of thing. So yeah, I like it. I think maybe more variety of removal could go a long way for the build. I'm personally not going to change anything. I feel like in the losses, they were pretty brutal, but I do feel like we got a little unlucky. But also, I'm pretty greedy with my mulligans as well. And I think I probably could have mulliganed a couple of those too. So overall, I think the curve looks good, and I think that it played well enough for me to not change anything. But everything that I mentioned is definitely something to consider. And also for all these rotation-proof deck lists, guys, I would say be very cautious with what you're crafting. And when the new set comes out too and rotation happens, I would still wait a couple weeks if you cared about your wild cards, because you really never know where the meta is going to settle. Also, what I like to do, I think I forgot it in the last one, I like to switch to alchemy to show you guys that it is in fact a completely rotation proof. As you can see, no cards are glowing red, so we're good to go because alchemy already rotated. So we can switch back to standard and be happy about it. All right, guys. Hey, if you made it this far into the video for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.